This is the hardest challenge in the existence of beamng. It's called the Ultimate Obstacle Course, and it lives up to its name, featuring 100 of the craziest obstacles over 10 gruelling levels. It would make even the greatest drivers quake in their boots. But here's the catch. I'm absolutely trash at driving in beamng. Whether it's on gamepad or wheel, it's like watching a dog trying to open a door. They've got the right idea, just not the know-how. So much so that my previous video was littered with comments about me having a massive skill issue. And those commenters are right. I've spent over 300 hours playing this game since 2015, and I'm still way below average. Just look at this. On the very first and easiest level of the Ultimate Obstacle Course, I was falling off so much that anyone would say I'd be stupid to even attempt this challenge. They probably have a point too. With level 1 taking me a whopping 10 minutes to complete, I calculated that over all the levels, which increase in length and difficulty, it would take me 5 grueling, sweaty and tiresome hours to complete. And that's optimistic. So here's the plan. I'm going to try and beat the Ultimate Obstacle Course in less than 5 hours. Prove to my viewers that I'm not trash at beamng and retrieve the shiny trophy at the end. But if I fail, I want every single comment under this video to be some variation of skill issue because I deserve it. However, level 2 was about to throw a massive carrot-coloured spanner into my plans. Not only was I unfamiliar with the Baja Piccolina assigned to this level, but the obstacles instantly got exponentially harder. In fact, on the very first one, I had more deaths than the entire first level combined, and every time I fell, the doubts that I'd be able to complete the course at all, let alone in 5 hours, only increased. It's at this point I usually give up on making a video, but for some reason I pushed on. And then I just did it. I finished level 2 in a breeze as things decreased in difficulty towards the end, and I was beginning to fly through the stages, knocking the extremely fun level 3 out of the park in a solid 20 minutes. Not a good split, that's for certain, and there were more than a few tumbles down to the ground, especially as the obstacles were trying to bait me into taking shortcuts, which never worked. But I was enjoying the to and throws of the half-pipe-like structures. Then came the green level 4 in the old Chevette Bolide. I was dreading the overpowered nature of this car, but the obstacles required a certain finesse which I was able to achieve. Not without an abundance of fails, however. And then it hit me. Every single level so far had a different story behind it, a life lesson almost. Level 1 taught me to not rush into things because I'd just end up face planting. Level 2 taught me that some things might seem miserable in the beginning, but once you start it's not so bad. Level 3 taught me there's no shortcuts in life, and level 4 was saying to me, if you've got power, use it responsibly. It was all starting to make sense. But to my horror, at the end of level 4, we were already pushing on 2 hours. And those were just the easiest stages. So this revelation couldn't have come at a better time. To minimise the wastage of every single valuable second spent on each level, I needed to suss out their lessons. Teal. This is now a colour I hate. I used to think it was quite nice, pleasant even. But level 5's sheer ferocity at wanting to chuck his van down to the cold hard concrete has jaded my view of it. The obstacles were brutally tough, and after 2.5 hours, my focus was shot. Each plummet drained my motivation, making me doubt if I could even beat this course at all, let alone in the 5 hours. But then I remembered something. At the start of the obby, there's a bunch of rules. No cheating, respawn on the grey platforms, but most importantly, enjoy yourselves and take breaks if needed. Could this be a hint about level 5's lesson? With no progress made in a while, and with the stopwatch nearing 3 hours, I quit the game. It totally, definitely, absolutely was not a rage quit. But maybe a break is what I needed to clear my head and tackle this beast anew. The next morning, I loaded in, and something amazing happened. As if by magic, it was so much easier and, more importantly, more fun. Of course, there were still a few tricky obstacles to beat, but I was once again hitting my stride. Obstacle after obstacle were being left in the dust, using the great all-wheel drive power of the Hirochi to climb to the highest point of the course. Much like the green level 4, this level tried to bait me into overusing the power. Each jump in the blue section tested my precision, but by carefully lining up the car, then with a gentle use of power to get past the tricky terrain, I was barely failing. It was slow, but it was working, and this led me to level 6's lesson. Slow and steady sometimes wins the race, but as I completed level 7 without much struggle, getting into the carcore flow state, I realised that time was rather quickly slipping away. Despite all my efforts, we were approaching the 3-hour 45-minute mark. With 3 of the hardest levels remaining, I knew I'd have to start making up some serious ground. However, each glance at the remaining levels made them look next to impossible, and it was a daunting feeling. I'd need an average of 25 minutes on each of the following levels to hit my goal, and based on every single previous level, that would be a mammoth task, so the pressure was really on. And it didn't help that level 8 consisted almost entirely of luck-based games, much like this large game of pigeon darts, which I sucked at. With just 45 minutes left, I went full attack mode on level 9's spaghetti of paths, slides and tubes. Each fall and subsequent failure felt like the nail in the coffin. And to my dismay, the final obstacle was a massive tube, probably the most hard and annoying obstacle on the entire course, because not only did you not know what the hell was going on inside one, but it was almost an obstacle of trial and error. There was no quick hack to get through them in a speedy time, so the pressure was immense. And every time my car landed the wrong side up, I could almost hear the hundreds of keyboards clacking the words "skill issue" out in my comments. Every second felt like a lifetime, and I knew if I didn't get through the tube in the first few attempts, the challenge would be over. But thankfully, on my third attempt, there was quite literally light at the end of the tunnel. However, as I captured my first few glances at level 10, I was quite honestly relieved. It didn't look too hard, and in the old cop car, I was making light work of the early challenges. Progress was slow, to be sure, but with the lessons of the levels prior flashing through my mind, all I could remember was level 2s, which taught me that looks could be deceiving. I decided that travelling slightly slower would be preferable to having to restart every obstacle, which would surely rack up the minutes pretty quickly. But as we entered the final 10 minutes, I was starting to get suspicious. I was clearly almost at the end, but the challenges thus far hadn't given me much of an issue. It was smooth sailing for the most part, with a few falls in between to break up this monotony. But then I saw it, the final obstacle. It was an absolute behemoth, easily twice the length of any obstacle I had seen so far. Featuring an abundance of ramps and dodgy geometry, I knew it would be a war of attrition, and the aim of the game would be to get to the end without destroying the car. And so I tackled it headfirst, but still with caution, but I knew I'd have to speed things up to beat my 5-hour timer. However, this approach wasn't paying off, and the car was getting absolutely destroyed as I pushed it over the rough geometry and ramps. And as I scaled the final staircase towards the end, I noticed something. The final obstacle was just a straight path. This seemed easy enough on paper, especially compared to previous obstacles of the same type. I knew the creator had done it on purpose. They knew the car would be absolutely destroyed by this point, and the final challenge was merely a taunt. Putting all this to the back of my mind, I gently stepped on the accelerator, making sure my wheels lined up perfectly straight. Surely it couldn't be too hard. I'd done this tens of times already throughout the entire Ultimate Obstacle course, but to my absolute horror, the car was crab walking. My axles weren't straight anymore, and about halfway over the bridge, my wheels fell off, hovering over the abyss. It was here I had two options. I could reset all the way back to the start, losing 20 more minutes of time, and potentially my sanity. Or I could break one of the golden rules: no node grabbing. It was a tough decision to make. Would I complete the challenge fully legit and admit that I'm trash at beamng, or would I do a tiny little cheat and complete it with my sanity intact? I knew every second I spent deciding would count, so I took a leap of faith. With my wheels back on the bridge, it was now just a straight-ish, but rather slow shot towards the end. I'm absolutely trash at driving in beamng. Comments about me having a massive skill issue, making me doubt if I could even beat this course at all. And after almost falling off once more, I'd finally completed the hardest challenge I had ever attempted. I had finished the ultimate obstacle course. There was still one slight issue, however. After all the trials and tribulations, the highs and the lows, the lessons and the rage quits, none of that even mattered if I didn't beat the all-important 5-hour time. And I'm pleased to announce I completed the ultimate obstacle course in a rapid 5 hours and 17 minutes. So I guess I am just shit at beamng after all.